U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin met with Ukraine's defense minister today at the Pentagon. The pair discussed a range of topics, including Ukraine's critical needs on the front lines and Russia's recent wave of attacks that have hit civilian infrastructure.
Let me be clear. It is never acceptable to target civilians. And Ukraine's resilience will help it prevail over Putin's aggression and atrocities.
CBS News senior national security correspondent Charlie D'Agata joins us from his new post there at the Pentagon. And you're following all of this, Charlie. There's what we see publicly that's discussed in, footage like that, Charlie, but there's also what's actually being discussed behind the scenes. What concrete outcome is each side looking for?
In terms of what was going on behind the scenes, you have Defense Minister Rustem Umerov, who's come here really with cap in hand saying, look, we're going to need more weapons. The Ukrainians have been very clear about exactly the weapons they need. They want longer range weapons, but this is what's critical. They want to have the permission, more or less, to use those weapons to hit targets deeper inside Russia. We know that invasion has taken place and they're holding ground. However, I don't think either side, I think they'll be holding fire right now, keeping their powder dry until next week. Next week, we're going to have another of the Ukraine contact meetings in Ramstein, Germany. I'll be there as well. And that is where I think you'll see the pledge, the announcements that will be made, not only from the United States, but this coalition of some 50 countries that are helping the Ukrainians in this fight against Russia.
And to your point, Charlie, about the Ukrainian incursion into Russia, today's meeting, as Kyiv announced that its forces are actually gaining ground in Russian territory. If folks are keeping track, that means that Russia has invaded Ukraine in the southeastern part of the country. That's ongoing. Now Ukraine is pushing into Russia. Why is this expansion they're announcing today significant in the context of these meetings?
Well, Errol, I'll be completely honest with you. When this first started a few weeks ago, there's a big scramble here. First of all, nobody here was told about it. That is clear. The Ukrainians did not let the Americans know that this was going to happen. Obviously, they're monitoring the situation, so they knew that afternoon that incursion took place. But there are officials here who told us, we think the Ukrainians were actually more successful than they had intended to be when they first started this incursion. But now they have expanded this territory and they are digging in. That's a fact. So they are now putting in defensive positions in that area as if they are going to hold it as we head toward the winter. Now, this might seem like a difficult strategy, considering you're going into Russian territory, but it does present President Putin with a dilemma, according to U.S. officials here. In order to dislodge that number of people, even as they're expanding, those troops are expanding, you're looking at a force of 20 to 30,000 Russian troops. So President Putin, you might think, how is he tolerating this incursion onto his own territory? Well, the Russians are gaining. If the Ukrainians were thinking, well, we're going to sort of outflank them in order to pull those Russian resources in order to defend their own territory, that's not the case. So you've got the Ukrainians pushing on one side in their own offensive, the Russians absolutely gaining territory on that side, and they're fighting it out. So how it's going to play out over the course of the next few weeks and months will be very telling, because in order to hold that land, that's going to take a lot of weaponry and a lot of the right weaponry and advice. And then we have to see what Putin's going to do and how long Russia is going to tolerate an invasion on their own property.
Yeah, that's right. All really important things to watch. Charlie, we'll stay close with you. Thanks for your reporting.